Welcome to Envision Broadcasting, the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success presents The Momentum Shift. A show where we get inspired, we get moving, and we get results. Every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern with your host, Eric Collier. He's the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, bringing you inspiring interviews and empowering stories that will help to improve lives. If you're ready to start making the impossible possible, then you've joined the right show, because the momentum shift is what you've been looking for.
Show me that this is what you want, and I'll be there in your corner. And I think she's going to nursing school. I think she was a very young soldier at the time, wasn't a nurse, and I'm very happy for her. So I like leading. I like assisting those to move forward in their career, because not all the time will everybody get face time with leadership.
Yeah.
It's not all the time.
Eric's message was extremely powerful.
The power of overcoming is not just connected to you. You're rising because the people behind you are counting on you. Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Welcome to The Momentum Shift, a show where we get inspired, get moving, and get results. My name is Eric Collier. I'm a veteran of the United States Army and Navy. I'm a two-time Amazon International best-selling co-author, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I love helping people, and I love coaching people. And I've done that successfully for over 20 years because I really want to see people win. And there is no greater feeling of joy than to witness someone who has just experienced that aha moment go on and change their lives and start doing what they thought was impossible and turning it into what is possible for them. So my goal, my mission each week is to simply do this: help improve lives. That's all I want to do. Help you improve your life, because you deserve to live in the greatness that is you. Now, every Friday, I want you to be ready. I want you to be ready for either an interview of these incredible people, a solo episode with myself, or maybe a remix of multiple interviews of these incredible, inspiring people. Begin. The goal is simply to help improve lives, and we're going to leave you with some nuggets for success. It's going to help you create that momentum shift that's going to really change your life. But don't stop there. I want you to go over to Apple Podcasts. I want you to subscribe, and I want you to leave feedback, because that feedback, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to help to improve the show in the future, because I really want to give you what you need to get that momentum shift in your life so that you can get going with making that impossible possible for you. So I'm really grateful to have you join me. I'm looking forward to having your feedback and helping to improve the show. And the one thing I'm really grateful about is I get to hear your stories of how you created that momentum shift that changed your life. So get ready, because the momentum shift is what you've been waiting for. Hello, I'm C. Eric Collier, also known as the Mayor of Motivation, and welcome to the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, a show designed to get you inspired, get you moving so you can get results. And this week, we're going to do just that with my guest, Ms. Brenda Meredith, who is the founder and CEO of FlowLogic Solutions. She's also a retired military veteran, Army veteran, and she is a purpose-driven strategist, servant leader, lifelong learner with 4 decades of military and public service experience across the healthcare, food safety, and workforce environment, our industry. So please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome my guest, Miss Brenda Meredith. Brenda, thank you for joining me.
Hey, Eric, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to spend an hour with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I've been looking forward to this. You know, we had a chance to meet a couple of weeks ago at the Career Haven event conference, and I thought your story, just getting the chance to just talk for a little bit, I thought your story was interesting when you look at your military experience and what you do now, what you've done over the years. So I wanted to have you come on and join me, because this show is about like I said, momentum shifting. And for me, when you think about momentum shifting, it's those times when you're up against the wall and you're fighting to keep moving forward and you just don't know what's going on or what's gonna come of it, but you keep fighting and eventually you get that one shot in and you get this victory that you need to just keep moving forward. So that's what this show is all about. And I thought your story would fit this quite well.
Okay, awesome. That sounds great.
So I always start off with the question, what does momentum shifting mean to you, and how has it helped you pretty much lead your life?
So I would say from a momentum standpoint, I gain momentum basically because I know who I am. And once you know who you are, you can become authentic. And when you're authentic, you can lead the way, regardless of what's happening in your life. It doesn't matter what challenges or what barriers are in your way, you're able to sustain your momentum because you're being authentic. And if authentic means to assess, to adjust, and then act, then that's exactly what would happen. So I've been able to sustain momentum throughout my career because of doing just that, not getting hot headed about, oops, this setback is going to derail me. I look at setbacks as an opportunity to be shaped.
Gotcha.
So when they came, I said, hey, let me just make sense of what I need to do to assess, adjust, and act. So
Yeah.
momentum has been there for me for, as you've indicated, 40 years in the military and probably 25 years in the federal government.
Yeah. I like that. That's the piece that's important because if you can't shift if you're not flexible, right? You have the ability to
Absolutely.
be flexible and understand that you don't have all the answers.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're not going to know everything and you're not going to know on any given day what's going to happen. So you have to sustain your momentum from the standpoint of who are you? What do you
Right.
stand for? And be authentic
Yeah.
because once you're authentic, you know, that confidence is there.
Yeah.
You're able to say, okay, this just happened, but I know where I'm headed and I know who I am. So therefore, I'm just going to pivot
Yeah.
and keep it moving.
Got you. I like it. I like it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because that self-awareness piece is huge as well. I mentor and coach with career professionals and high school students. And that piece right there is huge when it comes to shifting your life. But I want to dive a little bit more. We talked a little bit about your bio and who you are and what you've done over the years, but can you kind of fill us in on who you are, your background, where you come from, kind of what's guided you to this point?
You know, for the most part, you know, like most of us, you know, I went to high school here in Richmond, went on to college, went to Virginia Tech. I majored in food engineering. I went on to other universities to get 3 masters at this particular point, and
Okay.
a multitude of assignments in the military, to include probably 7 years of commanding units of greater than 1,000 soldiers and service members. Um, in the civilian world, I've also had a multitude of opportunities to lead, to move organizations forward in terms of transformation and innovation. Um, Again, I've been this person for a very long time. I've always been the type to want to be a part of the fight, to stay in the fight, and to be a part of that solution. And whatever that solution may be, whether it's baking a cake or birthing a baby, I wanted to be a part of that.
Gotcha.
And that meant that I had to stay ready so I didn't have to get ready.
I
So I've
like it.
been a proponent of um, being available and when opportunities arose.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I am who I am, and this has been a part of me since forever. However, you know, there were some things that I had to grow into. I was thinking about this before we got on. And when I was a young captain, you know, I wasn't ready to take on a leadership role. But I see these captains today, they're taking on leadership roles. Some of them are ready, some of them are not. But it was the part that helped me was I stepped out on faith, and as a result, confidence came. So I needed to act before I gained that confidence. I needed to have some successes under my belt
Yeah.
before that confidence came. So I'm grateful that I did take the time to be mentored as a young officer. And then when it was ready for me to say, hey, I'm ready to command, I put my name out there, and there it happened, 6 years into leadership roles as a commander, and it's just been beautiful.
Yeah. And that's a huge piece right there. And it sounds like pretty much you were shaped. I guess was this something that you were, I won't say groomed, but this is what you learned from your parents as well? That's this mindset, or is this something that you kind of picked up as you moved along and said, hey, I like this, I don't like that. This is what I'm gonna incorporate.
I would say my parents were absolutely integral into who I am. My family as a whole, I saw positivity in my family, in my community. I saw folks getting out there making things happen. So that became a big deal for me. When you're a young kid, everybody wants to make certain that they shine so that their parents can be happy and things of that sort in their community. So I've always been focused on, I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to be a productive citizen.
Yeah.
And my dad was military. And interesting thing about my dad being in the military, my dad only made it to, I shouldn't say only, my dad made it to the rank of PFC during World War II.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I came in the military as a PFC, and since that time, I am now a full bird colonel. So,
Yeah.
yes, my dad, even as a PFC, was very instrumental in who I am as a person and as a leader.
Yeah, and I, like I said again, congratulations on your retirement. I think that is huge. From veteran to veteran, thank you for your service as well as your
Awesome.
dad's. 'Cause I tell people all the time, proud to serve. It's changed my life tremendously, and I think
Absolutely.
been a great experience.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this self-awareness piece. This self-awareness piece, is this
Mhm.
something that you have a routine that helps you stay grounded with who you are? Is it something that you've just basically focus on? Because I know they have a lot of behavioral assessments that you can take when it comes to Myers-Briggs. I'm a DISC facilitator as well. Is this something that brought that along, or is this just something that, hey, you've incorporated in your life for years?
I've taken a lot of those behavioral tests, and
Mm.
one I've taken recently.
Uh-huh.
And and of course in the military they used to give us the multi-factor 360 degrees assessment or something like
Yes.
that.
Right.
And it's basically who I think I am and what the world, what they think. They basically take those two dynamics and they make sense of it.
Yeah.
I remember when I took that, who I thought I was and who the others thought I was, very close. And
Yeah.
so I've been aware of who I am. I'm very cognizant of I want to present in a way where those around me are comfortable.
Yeah.
They don't feel, I'm used to the word bullied, but they feel comfortable enough to be authentic around me, to know that I'm not of the caliber where you make a mistake and it's the end for you.
Gotcha.
So I am aware of who I am because I wanted and I needed that as I was coming up. I came up as a shy girl.
Okay.
And being a shy girl, I didn't want to do what I'm doing today. I didn't
Right.
want to be interviewed. I didn't want to talk about it, but I just wanted to be behind the scene, coming up with these great products
Yeah.
and saying, hey, look at this great tool I just created.
Yeah.
And I've learned along the way that it's going to take more than the books
Yeah.
to be of value in your life. And so, again, as I said, when I was a captain, I wasn't ready. And I took those years from captain all the way up to lieutenant colonel before
Okay.
I decided I'm ready to lead.
Yeah.
So being self-aware was something that I worked on. I allowed myself to build on it, and it's worked for me. So I would tell anyone who's out there intimidated by being out in front, take your time, take that first step. It's going to be shaky. Your voice may quiver here and there, but guess what happens next? Confidence comes. The
Yeah.
more you do it, the more confident you become.
It's funny how things come full circle, or how you things are manifested. I don't even know if manifesting is the word we want to use, but I was talking to someone today who says they love to be in the backgrounds and
Yeah.
not be in the front of the room. And they say that when they step into the room, they kind of go quiet because they just don't want the attention, and they just don't feel comfortable being in front of the room speaking. And here you are, you say I was a shy girl and I learned to build my confidence by getting in there. And so thank you for sharing that, because I'm gonna make sure the person I was talking to hears this today, because I think it's a valuable piece. And I was talking to my students as well about the same thing, is being able to say, get out of your own way. We can block our
Yeah.
own blessings by saying things like, I don't want to be in the front of the room. No, that's not for me. No, I don't do that kind of stuff. When all the while we were created for those opportunities, and that's why we're in those rooms.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna be honest with you, Eric. When I don't remember the exact day I became comfortable, but
Uh-huh.
I remember what it felt like when anytime I had to be in front of 1,000 or whatever, I was comfortable. I was
Yeah.
okay with it. But here's the key for me.
Okay.
The key is knowing your topic, knowing the subject.
Yeah.
If you know your craft on a particular area, you'll be confident when you get out there in front. But
Yeah.
it is difficult when you're just put on the spot and you ask about something that you should know, but you're not an expert at it. So, it makes you a little uncomfortable.
Right.
One of the things I like to say, Eric, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's when that confidence comes.
I agree with you, right? Because that's where comfort, that's where, like you just said, confidence comes from being uncomfortable, stepping out of your comfort zone. What is it they say? It said that comfort is the enemy of success.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, because
Absolutely. We have to get out of our comfort zone. We
yeah,
have to get uncomfortable and walk in those murky waters
yeah,
to test our own selves.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're in a world where, a lot of change is happening and people are retiring now. And you hear from a lot of them, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what to do. Because a lot of times there's a focus of, I want to get my degree. I want to get this job. I want to do this. I want to hit this retirement age and then I'm done. But then you realize I still have to live. How do I keep myself
absolutely.
going? How am I going to be happy? What am I going to do? And that's a lot of times there's something inside of you saying, hey, I want to do it, but we're blocking our blessings.
Oh, absolutely. That's where I am. It's funny you said that because, in year 2025, I will retire from both the military as well as the federal government. Was that the plan? Not necessarily.
Right.
However, it happened. I was prepared and
Yeah.
I moved on. But now here I am with all of this energy, with
Yeah.
all of this drive. It's like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Do I get back out here and get me another job? I am employable. I could absolutely do that. But I started that little business, Flow Logic Solutions, and
Yeah.
I thought, let me figure out how I can make this work for me. Because I talked to a lot of friends who also retired with me from the federal government. One of them says, hey, I'm going to start a dog walking business because she didn't want to do anything like what we did. And I
Yeah.
said, hey, I get that. So I'm still out here trying to make sense of what's next for me. I,
Yeah.
I get it that this is my next phase, but I have so much more that I
Yeah.
want to give. And one of the things I'm about to do next week, I was invited to my high school, John F. Kennedy, to speak to the kids. And I'm
Awesome.
very excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Like I said, that's a big piece. So let me ask you this. When you sat and you always they have the question, well, I don't know what gifts I have. I don't know what my purpose is. Have you ever sat and thought about that as well? Like, I don't know what my gifts are. I don't know well, you already said you had the self-awareness piece, but what would you say to somebody who's saying to themselves, I don't know what gifts I have or how I can help or how I can be more of a service?
You know, um, Here's what I would say. I live by this mantra, and my purpose is to
Okay.
light the way,
Like the
because
way.
oftentimes I find myself, I see folks who receive a mission. They
Yeah.
know exactly The mission is we set up this room for a birthday party. That's the mission.
Right.
But they have no concept of how to start it. They don't know the steps to make it happen. It seems pretty easy. Oh, we just need to buy a cake and set it on the table. But there is planning that has to happen.
Right.
Right. So my gifts are lighting the way. I believe clarity is strategy for me.
Okay.
If you give me my 5 W's, that's my clarity. And with that, what I bring to that is impact. If you give me clarity, I'm going to give you impact as your outcome.
Yeah.
So my purpose is lighting the way, affording others the how on how to make that happen. Because I'm a medical planner, by the way, in the military. So this is what we do all day. We get a mission, and our job is, if they say, hey, Colonel Meredith, we need you to set up this operation overseas, then I have to be on the phone, coming up with a plan, thinking it through. So my gifts are big picture, strategic, innovative person who can come up with concepts to operationalize any effort.
Okay. And then that's where flow logic comes from.
Absolutely.
That's what that
Flow logic came from that. Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about flow logic and what it actually is. Because I sat and I read through your web page, and I like the causes and the purpose that you focus on.
Yeah, so again, I'm fine-tuning flow logic solution as we speak. But when I initially came up with flow logic solution, artificial intelligence was like big in my spirit, and I wanted to utilize that in my effort with flow logic solution. And for the most part, as I vindicated, it's an opportunity for me to work with clients to bring about operational efficiency, workforce optimization. And one of the things I do with that, I from a flow standpoint, I get in there, whether it be with artificial intelligence or whatever framework, but I make certain that they understand, they can visualize the mission, they can describe it, direct it, lead, and assess. So I use that framework to assist clients to not lose traction when you get a mission. There's times you get a mission, you need something to happen right away. We don't have the time for folks to sit around and how you go through the forming, storming, norming, performing thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we need some clarity. We need somebody who can say, stop.
Yes.
Here's the mission. Here's what we need to do. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the big piece right there. You can sit there and you can do the research, you can get all of the information, but if you don't take action, nothing will ever happen. Nothing will ever.
Absolutely. I talked about assess, adjust, and act.
Yeah.
We need to do a quick assessment. And, I think a lot of times folks get caught up on 100% solution.
Yeah.
We need to give that 80% solution.
Yeah.
And, in military terms, we need to provide a fragoid or, fragmentary order to say, we knew this when we started. Now we know this. Now here's the way forward. But flow logic solution is such that I want to be able to reach clients and to quickly get them up and running with their mission, to help their employees to also understand what it means to be a planner, and not be afraid that you don't have the 100%.
Yeah.
Go with the 80 and understand it's a continuous process to come up with the details to realize your end state.
Yeah. I like that piece because so many people want to be perfect. You want to, they got to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And I'm not moving until the stars align and all the resources are there. And we got everything. And it's not that. The idea is to put something in place. I tell people all the time when I wanted to play tournament golf, the guy said, sooner or later, you have to get out there and do it. And I was explaining to him, I got to practice. But I didn't know how good I was until I actually got in the tournament. Then you get in the tournament, that's where you find out what you need to work on, how you can improve, what the competition is like, get that experience. So I agree with you. Just put something in place, move forward, know that it's always going to change because it's not perfect.
Right. Absolutely. And I've lived that way, basically just jump out there. It's funny we're having this conversation because with Flow Logic Solution, I keep saying, I don't have a product yet. I don't have services yet. I can't really describe it. And I've been taking courses here, upskilling. And then I see people talking about, you need to just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about being perfect. Get out there and do it. And so that's one of the things I would tell folks is to get out there, stumble, pick yourself back up. But that's how we learn. That's how we gain that confidence,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, I've tried it. And now I know what went wrong and I know what I need to do. So
Right.
absolutely.
And your perfect product is not always the client's perfect product.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're exactly right. So we just need to also be humble enough and have enough tough skin to know that, like you said, my perfect product, I may give it to you. You may think, this is not what I asked for. And
Right.
we need to be able to say, okay, noted, let me adjust. And replan and make it happen your way. So yeah.
So I always ask this question because when I started this whole transformation journey, one of the questions that was asking me was, "What are you reading?" And my mom, my aunts, they've always my mom's side of the family always big readers. Spend time just reading themselves to bed at night, just reading. I never liked to read, so I wasn't reading, of course. And so my question to my guests, I have to ask, can you share some of the books that you read that may have impacted your life, that have gotten you to this point, and that you may reference back to every now and then?
It's interesting. One of the first books I read many years ago, and I think about it all the time, was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
And it did something for me.
Okay.
It lit a fuse for me, and I started thinking, being an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
like, here is how you have to make things happen. One of the books I'm also reading right now, it's someone I met on LinkedIn. She's a keynote speaker for artificial intelligence, and she just wrote her book. And I do apologize for the title, but it's Artificial Intelligence, and it talks about governance and being responsible with using AI.
Okay.
And for me right now, that's a large deal for me. It's getting engaged and being smart on all things artificial intelligence,
Right.
because so, oftentimes we get a lack of equity in services to, let's say, underserved communities, because the data sets were
Yeah.
created in a manner that it wasn't responsibly done. So I'm reading that book, and it's been very helpful and instrumental
Yeah.
from a standpoint of moving forward in flow logic solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still continue to read a lot of the military books that I get. I have a subscription to them, just kind of keeping
Yeah.
focus on what's happening in the military world. But yeah, I continue to, I stay busy reading,
Yeah.
whether it be on the internet or books I have here at the house.
Yeah. I think what is it? My mom told me, she said, a person lives one life, but if you're reading, you live 1,000 lives.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
reading. Yeah, I remember being an avid reader as a young kid. It's funny, I used to be real big on these books. I think it was called Little Women, but it,
Okay.
it, it used to make me just feel like I was out there in the flowers with them. It was
Right.
interesting. So I used to love to do that. And then I still like to read to this day. So yeah,
Mm.
reading is fundamental.
Yeah, it gets the mind flowing, right? It gets the ideas going, and it just helps you understand too, depending on what it is you're reading, that there's so much more out there than just what you're
Absolutely.
living and what you're seeing. So,
But
it,
that is so true. And if we can instill that in younger folks, that just because you completed high school or whatever grade, you have to keep reading. It's so much knowledge out there.
yeah,
And I have continued to learn even at this retirement stage. I'm still learning. I'm
yeah,
still like being like, wow, look at that. Who knew?
right,
So my goal is that, as I continue to speak with younger adults or children, just to tell them, keep learning,
yeah,
keep reading, stay hungry with knowledge,
yeah.
so yeah.
That's my piece. I've declared myself under construction for life. I'm never going to reach that perfect state, but I'm just going to keep trying to close that gap.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, I feel you. That's the same thing with me. I continue to put myself out there, whether I'm getting beat up or not. But at the end of the day, I've learned something, and
Yeah.
that's important to me. So yeah.
So I want to, for the veterans that are out there, the people who are just leave, we spent years in the military. The question is now, how do I operate in this environment where I'm no longer putting on my uniform and I may or may not be under the Uniform Code of Military Justice? How do you adjust and adapt to that? Has it been an easy change for you?
Well, for me, it has. And keep in mind, because I've always been a civilian because I was an Army reservist.
Got you.
And so, yeah, so for me, it's not um, a large transition. But I will tell you this: it took me a long time to accept retirement in the military
Okay.
because after 40 years, I've been doing this for 40 years.
Yeah.
I started out as an enlisted soldier. I became a warrant officer,
Yeah.
and then I switched over to the Medical Service Corps.
Uh-huh.
So it took me by surprise that this year came. I was like, what do you mean? Let me see if I can stay in. I want to get an extension.
Right.
But don't get me wrong. It's funny because when I tell people I have 40 years, a lot of people look at me crazy.
Yeah. 'Cause you look so
They're
young.
like,
You're very young.
thank you. A lot of people look at me crazy and go 40. I've heard 20. But why did you stay so long? Did you overstay your welcome? Part of me started thinking, why did I stay so long?
Yeah.
Because being a part of the military is a part of something bigger than who I am.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was able to be a part, contribute, at some point, obviously with 11 promotions, I was validated along the way.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for your psyche.
Yes.
That's someplace you want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So as far as I've accepted it now. I've accepted it now, but it took me some time. I was afraid when 2025 came. I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta look at this thing. I wanted to command again, to be honest.
Did you really? And,
Yeah.
I think it's tough to say goodbye when you're having fun, when you're doing something you love to do, and you've said it before. You realize that you're a part of a bigger picture. It's not just about you. It's about leading. It's about helping others develop.
Absolutely. And that was such a big deal for me. I enjoyed it. I had a young soldier reach out to me just the other day for a recommendation. I took her to Germany with us. We deployed there during the pandemic. And she was such a great spirit to lead, and she was hungry to be watered every day. And and I like that. And I instill in folks, listen, I'm the type where you got me for life. Just do what you need to do. Show me that this is what you want, and I'll be there in your corner. And I think she's going to nursing school. I think she was a very young soldier at the time, wasn't a nurse, and I'm very happy for her. So I like leading. I like assisting those to move forward in their career, because not all the time will everybody get face time with leadership.
Yeah.
It's not all the time.
I
And
agree
so
with you. It's not too often, and not too often do you have a lot of leaders who are open to sharing their time because they're so focused on running the command and all the other stuff that's with it. They don't have a lot of time.
yeah, and one of the things I made in my business, being in command since 2018, I told anyone, and everybody knew, I said, my phone number is available to you whenever. You call me anytime. And they would always say, oh, ma'am, you sent us an email at 3:00 last night. And I said, oh, yeah, I was up. I'm up. And I said, but I'm letting you guys know I'm up. You can call me anytime. I'll wake up and we can talk about it. So absolutely. I will miss being a part of hearing what soldiers are doing and how I can help resource them to move forward. I will miss that, but I'm going to make certain that they know that I'm still here. You can reach out anytime.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. So let's talk about the leadership, or the leader, or maybe those who are just struggling with time management. Because we just talked
Right.
about it. You say you're up at 3:00 in the morning, and people are like, "That's crazy." I'm somebody that gets up at 2:30 in the morning. You have to find a way to make things happen, right?
Right.
But talk to me about your time management process, so that if you have one.
You know, Funny. So I was on the porch earlier, and I told my friend, a military friend, and I said, now that I'm getting out the military, and now that I no longer work for the federal government, I said, these are some things I want to do.
Okay.
And I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I deferred all of that because I had to focus on my being a soldier.
Yeah.
Um, so it's funny that you asked the question because time from a time management standpoint, I truly mean I devoted all of my time
Yeah.
in all things military. And it's, a lot of folks would go, are you serious? I had a command on the West Coast. I
Yeah.
command in LA and I live here on the East Coast.
Okay.
So I was flying over probably twice a month.
Right.
And I was on my computer all the time.
Yeah.
Is it required? Does the military say you have to make it happen? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
But if you're going to be successful and gain that validation and be looked upon as someone who's an up and coming,
Yeah.
let's keep this person in the fight.
Right.
I felt I had to do it.
Right.
And not that I had to do it, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
I was so committed to, I wanted to get my plans great. I wanted to resource my unit, my soldiers properly so that they can execute. Because again, I'm not out there doing it, it's them doing the work. So I had to make sure that I understood the big picture in order to resource them properly.
Yeah.
So from a time management standpoint, did I do a great job with time management? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I don't know if I would change it if I had to do it all over again because it's a commitment. For me, it was like I got to be committed to this thing that is so much bigger than me.
Yeah. I think that's huge right there. Like, so that's the piece to connect with you, prioritizing your people. That's important, right? So there's a
Oh,
sacrifice
absolutely.
that you give up to prioritize them. That's a big piece right there. That's the laws of leadership, right?
Oh yeah, being there for them was big for me. I mean, and I hope my soldiers knew that.
Yeah.
I was up at night just trying to fight my little battles to get us the funding, to get us the okay, get me to yes. That was
Yeah.
big for me. I would tell my higher, get me to yes. All this other stuff you talking is immaterial. I need yes.
Right. I like it.
We got our plans. I
Yeah.
need you to say yes so we can move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's another question. So when you're taking that risk, you're stepping out there and saying, asking for what you want. Well, what kind of advice would you give to people who are hesitant to stand in front, well, not so much stand in front of the room, but to stand in front of those people that they know they need help from, or they want to ask for help, and they're not. They're walking away hush.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I would not take no for an answer.
Yeah.
No was redirection for me.
Okay.
No was not my end state. It was their end state. And I was like, okay, thank you. I redirected. I pivot.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm getting to where I need to be.
Yeah.
But for those who find themselves struggling with asking for what they need, again, I will go back to I'm a planner.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my 5 W's all squared away on paper.
Right.
I'm going to send you a read ahead of time so that
Yeah.
you can understand when I get on the call. Here's what we're talking about.
There we go.
Here's why I need it. It aligns with your level of efforts.
Yes.
And I'm your worker bee.
Mhm.
Get me to yes.
I like it.
So it's a part of you have to be persistent.
Okay.
And you have to know your why. You have to understand that mission. If you understand that mission and it's a big deal for them,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they get you to yes?
Right.
Like, is this something that I can say I don't want to do? Because if so, let me push this out the way. But when I get a mission, I absolutely have expectation that those ahead of me, my higher, is going to fund me, resource me, do all that has to happen to make things go the way.
Like I'm giving you no choice. The only option is to say yes. If you don't say yes with this question, I'm gonna reword it, and ask you again in a different way. We're gonna get a yes.
I remember deploying to Germany during COVID. So this is everybody is stuck in their homes, and they says, Colonel Meredith, we want you to take this unit.
Yeah.
And then they said, you're going to New York and you're going to be in this place. And I champion to say, no, we're going to stay in our living room and we're going to leave from our living room to Germany because going to New York, because it was a high prevalence of COVID up in that area. I said, all it's going to do is put us in harm's way, right? This is my fight. This is my argument. And I remember some higher said, who is this soldier who is not taking no for an answer? But you know what I did? I wrote a info paper.
Okay.
I absolutely wrote a paper and told them your logic is flawed.
Yeah.
You believe we're going to some bubble in New York and it's going to keep us safe from COVID?
Right.
I said, not only that, imagine the place you're going to put us in is a safe bubble. We still have to go in the airport.
Yes.
So why don't you just assume that we all have COVID leaving from our living room, get us to Germany, and then quarantine us in Germany?
Yeah.
All of the effort and the money spending to send me to New York to put me in a bubble and then put me on a dirty airplane.
Yeah.
So so I'm of that type. I'm going to hear what you're saying and go, you sure?
Yeah. Can't be afraid to challenge those who are above. Sometimes you have to lead from below, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't that I wasn't afraid to challenge that which made sense. It's about, does it make sense that we're going to do it this way? So for those who are out there and they find themselves being told no, 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 and you're looking, and if you understand that mission, you got your 5 W's in front of you. As I like to tell people, your job is the how. You're getting paid for your how, your mindset, your knowledge, your skills. You're coming up with a strategy. And so that's what I do. When I challenge, I'm basically saying, listen, here's the strategy. Right. Here's what's going to get us to the end state that you desire. Yeah. And get these folks back home to their families safe, unharmed. So I'll do what I have to do to make it happen.
I like it. Passion. You got to be passionate about what you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You can't sit there and go, okay, yes, I understand. No problem. You can't. No, the world doesn't want a yes man or yes woman.
You're right about that. But like I said, I grew into the person I am, my voice, being vocal. I've always been passionate about my plans, my ideas. Yeah. But I grew into the voice. I grew into saying stop, or I grew into being good at, I don't want to say debate, but champion my cause, my way forward, my plan. And so, I grew into that.
I like it. What would you say you at the core? What would you say your core values of leadership, people, what else?
My core values, yes, as you indicated, is leadership, people, community, family, friendship is a big deal for me. Those are huge for me in terms of what propels me and keep me motivated. I like loyalty, I like hard work. I want folks to be committed to, are you going to commit your time to this effort? If so, join our team. So I take great pride into working hard and earning your way. Yeah, that's a big deal for me, that folks understand that you're not going to just drop on this team and do nothing but stare, and then you get all of the pat on the back and move forward. No, we work here. Yeah, it's funny. When I was a captain, I met a E8. And I was standing in the room, and I was in a room with some soldiers, and I don't know all I remember me saying was, if I'm crunching on my keyboard, guess who else gonna be crunching? Y'all.
Exactly, yes.
And he said to me, I remember walking down the hallway hearing that. Yeah. And he said, you was like so right. Like, why would I be just always crunching and y'all are just sitting there?
Right. Watching
smoking and joking, you know. So I'm a big believer in, we're gonna grind, we're gonna get it done, and we're gonna play hard once we get it done.
There we go. I like it. So let me ask you this. Do you have like a daily routine that you go through um, to make sure you keep you grounded, to keep you focused on your mission, your goals?
Um, I don't know if I have a daily routine. My goal now that I am exiting the workforce is to get inside. I'm sitting inside my home gym now, so
Okay.
to get out here and to 30 minutes a day to get myself ready
Yeah.
and mentally ready, physically strong, to face my next phase.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have like, oh, I do this at 2 and I do, yeah, I don't. And
Yeah.
I just kind of make it happen whether I'm tired. Oftentimes I'm very tired,
Yeah.
but I stay up and I say we got to get it done and we get it done.
Yeah. Sounds like flow logic is just how you flow. It's like you go with the flow, you get in where you fit in, and you just keep it moving, right?
Well, that's exactly what it is. It's all
Yeah.
about, listen, you guys, the mission is to bake this cake. We're going to bake that cake. I don't care how we get it done. We're going to get it done
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we may not start perfect,
Yeah.
but you still have to be mindful that we can't lose sight on what's required of us. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
flow logic is about keep that flow going,
Yeah.
be lucid, be flexible.
Yeah.
Be in a position where it might be 10 of us baking this cake, but if I pull 6 of you guys got to now get together, the 4 of you all, and go, okay, we got this.
Yeah.
Because we did exactly that when I was in Germany. I lost one of the my soldiers who got accepted into a university back in the States.
Okay.
And she was like, ma'am, I may not ever get accepted again.
Right.
I talked to their team and I said, you guys tell me, you guys run this operation. I don't. I
Yeah.
oversee it. I said, can you make this happen with 3 of you all? They talked about, I said, answer me tomorrow. They talked about it and they came back and said, man, we're good.
Yeah.
Let's let her go.
Like it.
And so, yeah. So my thing is we're going to flow. You got to be honest and authentic about, can you make it happen? Because I told her, I said, if your crew tells me it will never happen losing you, I'm sorry, we may not be able to. I mean, I'm certain I would have went to another group and says, do you need all your people? But yeah,
Yeah.
flow logic is about let's talk it through. Let's figure out what we need to make it happen. And whatever that is, let's do it.
Yeah. I like it. And I'm looking at the time and we coming up on that hour. That was come by
Yeah,
quick, huh?
I know, right? I know, right?
So
It's
is there
been great.
anything that you'd like to talk about that we didn't talk about?
I think we covered a lot, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think if nothing else, one of the things, I know we probably talked about it, but I at least would say, to anyone that there's going to be challenges
Yeah.
in your life. I will tell anyone that, even myself, I've had my challenges, but here's what I would say: stay true to yourself, control what you can,
Yeah.
stand firm on your negotiables. If there's things where you will not waver, don't waver. But you're going to have those moments where it just doesn't happen the way it should. You're going to feel undervalued, underutilized, the whole 9 yards. But if you're authentically a sound individual who can pivot and can come up with a plan, do that. Don't allow yourself to lose sight and do something irrational. And now you're looked at as some weirdo who can't control themselves. So I just tell folks to get to know who you are, figure out what your strengths are, and lead accordingly.
Yeah.
Confidence will come.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up?
So I'm starting this AI accelerator course.
Okay.
It's not a course, it's like a one-on-one mentorship where someone who's already big in the field is bringing us on to assist
Yeah.
on our efforts to move our businesses forward. So I'm very excited about that. I'm finishing up my Harvard's public health leadership program. So
Okay.
I think I have 3 more sessions and that'll be over with. And that's another thing too, just overextending myself.
Yeah.
So It's like I feel like I'm still in the military, but anyway. So I got a few things like that coming up, but ultimately by the end of the year, I want to at least gain a client.
Yeah.
For Flow Logic solution again, because once I step out there, confidence will come.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
how can they connect with you? Because it sounds exciting. I love it.
well, I mean, I have my LinkedIn. I don't know if you have it.
Yeah. I got you.
So, but do you want me to just tell you what it is or
Yeah, if you
shout it
just
out?
tell them they can reach you on LinkedIn, and
Yeah, they can reach me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they can reach me on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna be honest. I don't have the actual my LinkedIn, but I'm under Brenda Meredith.
Gotcha.
Yeah. If they look up Brenda Meredith, they will see me. They can also my email is bym1310 @gmail.com.
Okay.
Or lastly, they can reach me at connect@flowlogicsolutions.ai.
Okay. connect@flowlogicsolutions.ai.
Correct.
So, and I'll include that in the links as well. But just for those who may not read the link, they just want to hear it on here. I just want to make sure they have it as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
So, they can reach me. We can talk some things through and maybe collaborate on some innovative transformational concept.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk a little bit more after we get off here too, because I got something I want to present to you. So,
Okay. Awesome.
so Brenda Meredith, retired colonel from the United States Army and Flow Solutions CEO and founder. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. You truly are a momentum shifter, and I appreciate the opportunity for your time.
Thank you, Eric. I absolutely appreciate you having me on. This has been amazing. Thanks again.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the Momentum Shift, the podcast. That's it for the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, the show designed to get you inspired, get you moving so you can get results. We want you to go from stuck to moving forward because we know that unlocking your true potential is the way to really become the best version of you. And it starts right here with adapting, adjusting, and continuing to flow, just like Miss Brenda Meredith has shared with us today. Until next week, always just keep pushing because nobody's going to do it for you. Take care.
Thank you for joining The Momentum Shift, a show bringing you interviews and stories of incredible people to help you get inspired, get moving, and get results to ultimately create the life-changing momentum shift that will improve your life. Join host Eric Collier, the Mayor of Motivation and Mental Quicksand Expert, every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern for The Momentum Shift, the show and change you've been looking for.